We go. We are on page 80. Okay. That's right. Morale, so in Faith and Trust. Page 80. People who have spent their time since youth perfecting their character traits by studying books that teach people how to do so, but have not learned the laws of judicial matters, and therefore have not acquired the love of justice, are more susceptible to the moral illness of perversion of justice than those simple people who have not studied the matters of the fear of God and the ways of perfecting one's traits. You have to combine them. That's what his point is. The evil inclination has a way of placing undue pride and firmness of opinion in the heart of the person who seeks perfection, so that a person looks on the masses from above. He feels much superior to them, and all his actions are in his eyes the most generous and perfect deeds. He will be amused to think that he is being suspected of robbery. For, as quote unquote, for my deeds are always beyond the letter of the law, he thinks, and are straight and good. The need to observe the law does not apply to me. It is meant for people who love themselves and whose deeds are imperfect and who lust for money. It is not meant for those who possess fear of God and who have perfected themselves, end quote. Here we go. So that if I believe that I'm perfected my moral, I have moral perfection, so then the whole Torah, what is that? It's just for you guys. It's not for me. Even more, one who suspects him is considered by him to be showing disrespect toward Torah scholars and desecrating the honor of Hashem. Because I'm such a good guy. I have such fear of God. You're nothing. It's the old joke of the person who was in a yeshiva of Musar, and he was sitting there, and they were all sitting saying, I'm nothing, blah, blah, blah. This new student comes in, he sees everybody saying, I'm nothing. So 5 minutes into the yeshiva, he starts saying, I'm nothing, I'm worthless. And so the people comment, oh, who is he? He says he's worthless, you only have 5 minutes. What chutzpah does he have to say he's worthless? I can sit. I've been here for a long time. No, you have to understand that there's a relationship between God that we have to have, but that's what I like to call the up and down vertical. Vertical, but the horizontal one is also very important. You have to perfect both. And in order to have my horizontal one, I have to know what the laws of interpersonal relations. I have to know what is just. I have to know those business laws, something that people just, I don't know, for some reason, and this is also, I think, the fault that we were dealing with before I turned this on, namely one of the elephants in the room. The people have a concept that religion is only spiritual and moral perfection, but does not, they believe, for some strange reason, that it does not go into the business place. Belongs in the synagogue or in the church or in the wherever.
Belongs in the business.
No, but I'm saying
more than any place
else. But they for some reason people don't make that connection. That we have all these laws, we have a whole 1/4 of our compendium of laws, and it's a very big part, has to do with business law and how to have those sort of relationships that I can't overcharge. I can't. When I'm doing interest, what has to, how do you do that? How do you go into business? How do you give a loan? All those things that go into it, and people, for some reason, just even though they may acknowledge that it exists, they don't really know what it is.
Don't they teach that in the yeshiva?
They don't teach the laws per se. What you do is you go through the Gemara of what we call Nezikin, of that tractate Nezikin, Papa Mitzi, Baba Patra. So they may have some concept of they may have some of the concepts floating around, but when it comes down to practical Jewish law, no, you're not going to teach that, because you're trying, in yeshiva, you're trying to do it's a different program. I'm trying to get you to think.
Okay.
So it's now to get to the next level, to know what law is. That's for graduate courses, if you will. Okay, I first have to get you to know how to think how the process is working. That is where the yeshiva world is holding. I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree. I'm just saying that's the fact of life. So now, by the way, anything I'm learning from Talmud, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to bring it down to practical Jewish law. Because again, my whole concept as a teacher is just to give over the argument and have the people understand the different sides. And that's why we make such good lawyers. Because I can defend both sides. When it comes down to practical Jewish law, so the rabbi would tell you, really want to know, go to the Shulchan Aruch. But I figured out, that's not my job. That's a simple 1, 2, 3. And they expect us, as students and ultimately as adults, to look at it. The problem is, again, you didn't give me a love for it, or whatever the problem is. We don't normally go that far. So as a result, even though we have some concepts flying around in our head, we generally, and I'm using we as in the overall, we generally do not go to Choshen Mishpat. For those people who don't go to Yeridea, they know Orach Chaim, hopefully, which is the laws of every day. But again, I'll say this on the line. When it comes to Shabbat, even though people claim they're Shomer Shabbat, I would say based upon the four books here, what's it called? The 39 Malachot, that people don't know what they're talking about. It's a very complicated thing. Shabbat is very complicated. And people think, well, I made Kiddush, I did this, I went to shul. Did you really keep Shabbat? I don't know. Let's explore the whole time what you've done. Or you didn't do anything. So you didn't get Oneg Shabbat now because you're afraid to move. So now you didn't get the benefit of Shabbat. So you really haven't done that either. So one has to really immerse themselves into these laws so that they become second nature, to know what I'm separating, to know what I'm not separating, so on and so forth. Borer, not borer, seating, not seating. What can I use to cover myself, and so on and so forth. There's a whole bunch of laws that go into this, but I'm saying I don't know how people are really up to the challenge. If a test would be administered, could you do this? When I was learning what they call a conversion, when I was first dealing with the conversion issues, okay, and I got a list from the Beit Din saying this is what your potential convert has to know. I looked at it and I said, halavai that Jews would know this information. It's unbelievable, the comprehensiveness of what a potential convert has to know. Now, let's go further with that. Let's assume I would give the written test on that. How many people would pass? Which is a sad statement. But really, how many people would pass? And I invite the whole blogosphere to pick me up on that one. But really, it's very hard. If I would give a test on Chumash, how many people know the stories behind Chumash, the Rashi behind Chumash? Simple Chumash, simple, quote unquote simple. Nach, forget. People don't know Tanakh. They don't know Nach, I should say. Ta maybe. Nach, they don't know. Okay? Comes to Mishnayot, they don't know Mishnayot. Comes to Midrash, they don't know Midrash. What they learned in school, they know. But when it's certainly Gemara, well, because of Daf Yomi, people have more of a chance. But when it comes to the other laws, I don't know. I would question greatly how much is actually known out there. And again, it's all available to us. But people are more worried about, do they have a fear of God, whatever that means to them too. And he identified fear of God before. And we've learned what fear of God is. It doesn't mean that I have to be fear of God, that God's going to punish me. It means I have to have respect of God. It's Yirah Shamayim. It's a respect. It's an understanding that whatever Hashem tells me to do, it's for my benefit. So I've developed that, but yet I haven't looked at the other stuff. That's what the Chazon Ish is yelling at. He's yelling at those people who only perfected, or quote unquote perfected, one part of their worship, but they haven't gone the other side. He said that's incomplete and it's not going to work. Okay. But in truth, Rabbi Yisrael Salanta already revealed in his letter that even though their intentions are good, their deeds are totally bad. For anyone who has not labored over learning halakha in great depth will not know its value, its ways will be unknown to him, and the main point in serving Hashem will be missing. For Hashem commanded to observe the details of halacha and to love it. If this person lacks knowledge of the law, what does he have? Just as it is impossible to observe Shabbat without knowing its halachot, its laws, and it is impossible to refrain from eating forbidden foods without knowing what is permitted and what is forbidden, so is it impossible to avoid robbing and stealing without learning the halachot that pertain to the relationship between man and man. And there is no doubt that a person who has not learned them and has not made an effort to clarify them is liable to be stealing and robbing with every step he takes without knowing it. What good are his perfect traits with which he so prides himself when his hands are soiled with constant larceny and daily stealing? Now, in case you think you're not stealing, let's understand what the halacha is talking about, or what he's trying to get across. If I'm working for my employer and I take a minute off for a personal mission during work days or during work time, I have stolen from my boss. If I take a job at night, okay, without my boss's approval, I work in the day, you work in the day, okay? You're working for your school. So now you say, I can't make the money, and I need more money. So now I work at night. Now you work at night. You're tired during the day. You've just ripped off your employer. Ripped off your employer. You partied the night before. I know you're a big party woman. Okay, you partied the night before, right? Party on. Okay? So what happens is, you come in half drunk. Okay? And but you come in really tired. Once again, you ripped off your employer. Every second you're not performing at top efficiency, you're ripping off your employer. Imagine that. There's how much. It's not hard to steal. I use my computer for personal, assuming that the owner doesn't want you to. There's all the assumption that the owner says this can only be used for work-related areas. So you say, well, work-related areas means to check out what the sales are at Walmart. And you go on, no, you've just stolen from your employer. Okay, if they allow for that sort of thing, no problem. I know that in the Hershey factory, the story was that, I don't know if it's true, it could be an urban legend, but supposedly, if you would work for Hershey chocolate, so they said to the employee, you can eat as much chocolate as you want here. Can't take anything home. But you can eat, if you see chocolate and you're hungry, take some chocolate. No problem. You can eat as much as you want. You can't take it home, but you can eat here. What happens after a day or two? You never want to see another piece of chocolate in your life. But they were nice about it. Okay? You didn't take what you want. Okay, so now if I eat, whatever I eat is fine, but I can't take anything home. If I take one thing home, I've just stolen from the employer. Or I give them to my kid, I've just stolen from my employer. Again, all these things. It's really not hard because we think it's coming to us. And if I think it's coming to me, I've just stolen from my employer. And that's what he's saying. Okay? One of the main ways to perfect one's love of justice is to learn Gemara, Rashi, and Tosfot regarding halachot in general and halachot pertaining to the laws between man and man in particular, as Rav Yisrael Salanta said. What especially deepens and entrenches the knowledge is the labor and in-depth study of Gemara, Rashi, and Tosfot. Even if one does not become well-versed in the halachot, one acquires both the principle of subjugating oneself to the law and the recognition that the halakha is the basis of the service of Hashem. One also knows that it is necessary to ask a rabbi in regard to anything connected with one's daily interactions with other human beings. The perfection of the Torah scholar who labors in learning Torah, Gemara, Rashi, Tosfot, Halacha, and the books of morals, and acquiring good character traits is assured that his integrity will remain intact. If one has neglected halakha and has not put in the effort to learn it, there is no doubt that he is lacking in justness, and is in danger of becoming an unwitting accomplice to an evil entity. So with all that we want to learn Chumash, with all that we want to learn all the stories, bottom line is if we don't bring this to practical devices, such as learning the halacha that comes out of that, then we've missed the point of everything behind it. Bottom line is we have to follow. Hashem gave us the halachot via the Torah and the old tradition, and we have to understand what it is, and we have to follow it because God said so. Bottom line, God said so. Even when it comes to the rabbinic enactments, which God gave the rabbis the power to do in the Torah, it says if they tell you your right hand is your left hand is the right hand, then you have to listen to them. So even though they tell us this is the rabbinical enactment, it doesn't lessen the strength of the law. We still have to follow it. There are times that if we need to break one law over the other, then we should certainly break the rabbinic over the Torah law. You always want to maintain the Torah law, but normally we're not. It doesn't matter that it's rabbinic. We still have to follow because that was their authority, and the assumption is that the rabbis only would make laws that are for our benefit, unlike the laws that we see in countries, which are not for our benefit many times. It's just a way to control the masses. So if they want to control the masses, they say what they want to say. They make up you can't sit in this chair yet in that chair. Foolish laws, nonetheless. Unlike the law which would say that a red light, you have to stop it. That makes sense. Stop sign, stop. Okay, all these things make sense, but there's ones that they make no sense in the system. And I'm sure that if we would think 5 minutes, we could think of a couple of them. But it's nonetheless, those laws are made by man, but that's just to control us. If it was made for the general welfare, which is what we're supposed to be made for, so that would be replicating what the Torah was trying to do. And we'll stop there.